This one's gonna hurt. Grossi Posse Packer Nation, welcome to another episode of Packcast, the podcast where you don't have to be a Packers fan, but it sure does help. I am your host, Tom frackin' let's forget that Sunday ever happened, Grossi. And just like we've been doing every week, we're going to break down the top 10 in the NFL after Week 12. We got some movement, and I can tell you what team is moving down, and that's the Green Bay Packers after getting demolished on Sunday night. So, yeah, that wasn't too swell. But hopefully they could bounce back against the Giants and Redskins, and who knows, hopefully the Seahawks can beat the Vikings, and I could just move on my merry way. But let's get to it to number 10. I said it wouldn't happen. I said it couldn't be done again. But it just did. Number 10, the Buffalo Bills. That's right, Bills Mafia. I put you in the top 10 again. I did it. I probably shouldn't have, but I did. Sitting at 8-3, you guys had an incredibly impressive performance against Denver, shutting them down 20-3. So their offense, was pretty good. Not bad. A running game was pretty solid. But that defense, man, took care of business. Considering that Denver team nearly beat the Vikings, yeah. I wouldn't say the Denver Broncos are a good team, but, listen, they're not the Dolphins like who you usually beat up on. And so because of that, I'm going to allow you to slide into the top 10. Don't disappoint me, Buffalo. Then, moving on to number 9, you have the 7-4 Houston Texans taking care of business on this past Thursday night, beating their divisional rival, the Indianapolis Colts, 20-17. It's a nice bounce back for the Texans, who got decimated by the Ravens a couple weeks back. And I feel like this is one of those teams that they obviously are always dangerous with Deshaun Watson. Carlos Hyde was running well on Thursday night, and that defense, has some holes, but, has also some decent pieces in there. But the Texans, to me, I don't think they're going to beat teams like the Ravens. We'll see if they're going to be able to beat teams like the Patriots. But who knows? Maybe they could pull an upset and get past the wild card round in the AFC playoffs. We'll wait and see. Then moving on to number 8, and that is your 7-4 Kansas City Chiefs. Had a nice bye week this week, which they definitely needed. They won against the Chargers because Philip Rivers threw four interceptions to them, but they needed to heal up and get healthy on that offense and defense. Next week, they're going to be going up against the closest competition in their division right now, and that's the Oakland Raiders. But then again, the Raiders just got slapped in the face with a turkey breast, losing to the Jets. So if the Chiefs lose to them, no bueno. Then, moving on to number 7. Oh, God. It ain't lucky, number 7. You're 8-3 Green Bay Packers. Yep, falling a couple spots as this Sunday night was very reminiscent of the LA Chargers game, in which the offense just didn't show up right from the get-go when you knew that was a fumble. It wasn't going to be a good game. And, spoilers, it wasn't. The offensive line couldn't protect Aaron Rodgers. Bulaga got injured. There was no use of Aaron Jones, which just makes no sense to me at this point when you're in Week 12. And Matt LaFleur has come out and said that they got a game plan better, that falls on him. They have to utilize Aaron Jones more because that's when they've been successful. And so just a ugly, ugly game. They have 2 very winnable games coming up in the next 2 weeks against the Giants, then Redskins. And obviously the big Week 16 game against the Vikings is the one that everyone has circled on their calendars. So they got a few weeks to get right. And then a big game in Minnesota. And we'll see if they're able to pull it out. Then moving on to number 6, you have the 8-3 Minnesota Vikings. The Vikings are ahead of the pack. Yes, that's right. Finally! I have been awakened from my slumber! Oh, what's that, Tom? Your little Packers got blown out on Sunday? Boo-hoo-hoo! That's right, you son of a gun. The Green Bay Packers are beneath the Vikings, missionary style. The Minnesota Vikings had themselves a bye week this week where they got to rest up and look pretty as they are in control of their own destiny. If they win out, then they will be the NFC North champions. Kirk Cousins, which, I thought for a little bit we wasted $84 million, turns out to be a wonderful investment as Dalvin Cook and that defense are clanging and banging and clanging. We just won't talk about the Denver game because we won it, so who cares? That's right, you piece of cheesehead garbages. So, here's what's gonna happen. We're gonna go into Seattle next week, and we're gonna feast on some sea chicken, and we're gonna have room for seconds after turkey, and then we're coming for some cheese in a few weeks. Yeah, you know it. You don't want to believe it, but you always knew it to be true. You thought you got rid of me, cheeseheads. You thought that it was all over. You thought you had to worry about Mitch Trubisky. Trubisky, you dumb bastards! No, we were right there in front of you, all along. The Minnesota Vikings will reclaim the North. We will pillage your dead, rotting corpses. And then you will know pain. See you soon. So the 9-2 Seattle Seahawks coming in at number 5 here. Rashad Penny, look at him go with 129 yards after Chris Carson struggled this past Sunday against the Eagles. But Carson's been pretty damn consistent all year, and they won 17-9 against the Eagles. That defense was actually looking pretty good, and Wentz was not looking very good. I think the Seahawks will ultimately win the division just due to ease of schedule, and they also have an opportunity to knock off the 49ers in the last game of the season. But they do have holes. Their defense has shown some weaknesses as, when they're going into overtime against the Buccaneers, and their offense can be stopped. It's just a matter of who wants to play the Seahawks in Seattle during the playoffs. I know I don't. Then number 4, you have the New England Patriots sitting at 10-1. Ugly game. Ugly game, beating up on the Cowboys, and by beating up, I mean like winning by a handful of points. The defense played well. They continued to play well. The offense continuously struggled. I know they have so many offensive line issues, including at left tackle. They have 2 more tough games on the schedule. So they have against the Texans and they have the Chiefs. And these are really, really important games because after that, I think they can win out the season pretty easily. But they only have a 1-game lead right now against the Ravens, and the Ravens are firing on all cylinders. And so the question is, can they hold this lead and clinch the number 1 seed? Because I wouldn't want to be the Patriots going down to Baltimore in January. Then, number 3, you have the 9-2 Saints. Oh, boy, they got lucky that Joey Sly can't kick a field goal or some extra points as well. But the defense held when it had to. The Panthers had plenty of chances to win that game. It's a tough divisional game. Michael Thomas continued to thrive. The guy has been playing phenomenally this year. And the Saints, again, the reason I put them above the Patriots is because and the Seahawks, is because I think their defense is more consistent and their offense has a tremendous amount of firepower that the Patriots and Seahawks have every now and then, but Patriots definitely do not have. Then, number 2, you have the San Francisco 49ers sitting at 10-1. Demolished the Packers in primetime. Jimmy G was perfect that night. The defense just was giving Rodgers fits. and they looked like a complete, balanced, scary-ass team. Now, obviously, they have a very, very tough schedule coming up as they are going to be playing the Ravens next week, then followed by the Saints. So we're about to see how good this 49ers team really is, because we just saw how bad the Green Bay Packers could be. Let's hope that that's not a pattern. And then finally, the number one team in the NFL, you have the Baltimore Ravens sitting at 9-2. Lamar Jackson with 5 touchdowns again. The defense is playing lights out. Ingram is playing well. They have a huge game against the 49ers next week, which I think has the potential to be a Super Bowl preview. But Lamar Jackson, man, has thrown a dozen touchdowns in the past 3 weeks combined, and that's just through the air. He also rushed for one. The guy is just phenomenal. Just absolutely phenomenal. And, you know, this team with that defense playing as consistent as it is, yeah, I think they're the best team in football right now until proven otherwise, which we might find out next week. But let me know what you think down in the comments below. What are your rankings? Who do you see as the best team in football? You can always find me at TomGrossiComedy.com or at TomGrossiComedy on all social media. See down below. Check out podcasts on SoundCloud, iTunes, Google Play Music, Spotify, and of course YouTube. And a big shout out and thank you to all the Patreon members over at patreon.com/TomGrossiComedy. But thank you so much for watching. I'm Tom Grossi, and as always, go Pack Go!